idiots!
Flat earthers still planning to launch an homemade rocket. Remember Mad Mike Hughes? Of course not. Why would you? Mike thinks the Earth is flat and made a rocket to prove it. The plan was to shoot himself high enough to see that the Earth is just a disk last November, but paperwork and mechanical failures stopped the launch from happening. Mike went back to the drawing board and redesigned his rocket and now says he's good to go on February 3rd. The plan is to fly straight up for 1/3 of a mile and then let gravity take over. Hold on. Gravity? Is that even a thing? Hughes eventually says he wants to shoot himself up 52 miles in the air by this year's end to see for himself the shape of the Earth. He says it'll cost him $2 million for the hot air balloon, rocket pack, and spacesuit to get him to his vantage point. Maybe Mike should hit up Kyrie Irving or JJ I Don't Believe in Dinosaurs Reddit for the cash. More great stories in 3, 2, 1. Flat Earth rocket launch postponed. Everyone knows the Earth is flat. Just ask Kyrie Irving or B.O.B. So why are people still wasting time trying to prove it? Limo driver Mike Hughes was originally planning to launch himself in a homemade steam-powered rocket 1,800 feet up over the Mojave Desert at 500 miles per hour to take some snaps to prove the Earth is flat. After being shot down by the government, Hughes says the event will now take place on private property, 3 miles down the road. That's a relief. Sure, Hughes only recently hopped on the Flat Earth train after he curiously couldn't raise enough funds for his Kickstarter campaign, but that's unimportant. He spent the last few years building his rocket out of salvaged parts from his garage. It's costed $20,000 so far, so money well spent. Unfortunately, the launch won't be open to the public, but don't despair, it will be available online for a price. Hey, Flat Earthers gotta eat too.
Largest ever fleet of satellites will keep a constant eye on Earth. Satellite images of every place on Earth taken every single day will move one step closer to reality this week when these satellites are launched into space. A San Francisco startup named Planet plans to launch the largest fleet of satellites in history aboard a rocket from India. The 88 Dove imaging satellites will be deployed at an approximate altitude of 500 kilometers on a sun-synchronous orbit. That means they will pass over any given point on the Earth's surface at the same local solar time. Combined with 12 Dove satellites already in space, 100 satellites in total will fly north to south as the Earth rotates beneath them to form a line scanner constellation of satellites. If the launch is successful, Planet expects to capture daily images of the entire Earth. The solar-powered Dove satellites weigh about 4 kilograms each and are equipped with a series of optics and sensors. These include a main camera that can capture images at 3 to 5 meter resolution. The shoebox-sized satellites will continually photograph the surface of the Earth and complete an orbit approximately every 90 minutes. Planet recently acquired Google's Terra Bella satellite business, including its 7 high-resolution SkySat satellites. The SkySat satellites are about the size of a cubicle mini refrigerator. They can capture 90-centimeter resolution images in color and near-infrared.
NASA's Orion spacecraft prepares for first test launch. The capsule that will bring humans one step closer to setting foot on Mars is slated to make its first flight in 2018. 5 months ago, NASA technicians began the first assembly weld on the Orion Multipurpose Crew Vehicle, or MPCV, spacecraft. The Orion's pressure vessel, the part filled with air for astronauts, started out in 7 pieces. Those pieces were fused together by mid-January. The pressure vessel was then transported from the Michaud Assembly Facility in Louisiana to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. It traveled on a Super Guppy cargo aircraft equipped with a compartment that is 25 feet tall, 25 feet wide, and 111 feet long, and it arrived on February 1st. At the Kennedy Space Center, the Orion will be equipped with subsystems, outer layers, and a heat shield, everything it needs to complete its first mission, which NASA has announced will be an unmanned test flight to the moon in 2018 to check its structural integrity. The little guy is already being heralded America's next great leap in space exploration. That's a lot of pressure for your first assignment, but you got this, Orion.
NASA to send Orion spacecraft on unmanned flight test.
The Orion spacecraft, which is designed to carry astronauts to Mars, will undergo an unmanned flight test in early December. An Orion capsule will be launched into space on a Delta IV rocket from Cape Canaveral on December 4th. The lower stage and the launch abort system will separate from the upper stage. Orion will orbit twice around the Earth. When it reaches an altitude of 5,800 kilometers, it will be 15 times higher above the planet than the International Space Station. Orion's upper stage will then separate and its crew module will return to Earth. Its heat shield is designed to ensure it will be able to withstand temperatures of almost 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit during re-entry. When the spacecraft returns to the atmosphere, parachutes will deploy in different stages to slow its descent. Scientists will retrieve the capsule after it falls into the ocean. NASA has allocated $375 million for the first test flight. In subsequent tests, the Orion will be mounted on a new rocket named the Space Launch System.